Hey guys, sebchoof here. Man, do I have a spicy video for you guys today. Actually, a couple of spicy videos, because there's going to be a few episodes to this, but basically, I'm going to be going through the community's most hot takes and spicy takes, and some of my own, relating to everything you can think of, so monetization, cheats, Deca games, the previous devs of the game, and much more. I'll be adding in one of my controversial takes to each of the videos. Hopefully Deca and you guys won't be too mad at me for this. It's just for good fun. This is just good fun. And I do glaze Deca quite a lot, so you can't hate me, guys. I'm just being fair, raw, unfiltered. Let me know what you guys think about the takes in the comments below, and also comment your own for the chance to be featured in a future video. First one, what is this? The current state of pay to win in Realm is not that bad. With the free battle pass and all of the events recently, being a free-to-play player feels way better. The second part of this is definitely true. A lot of you probably believe this whole statement, and I agree with the second part. Being a free-to-play player definitely is way better, because you can get so much free stuff through the battle pass, through missions, there's events that you get stuff through, but this first part is pure bullshit. The current state of pay to win is not that bad. If you look at the fucking Steam page for Realm, and if you look at a lot of the people that play the game for the first time, so many people see the store at the beginning, and they just close the game right away, basically. When you go into Nexus, it's just fucking in your face. It's everywhere. I'm not saying that it's better now. I'm saying it's bad in both stages. It was definitely worse in Kabam era. What the hell? This guy wants to ban me for being stinky? I like the game at least a bit. Overall, it has some insane potential, but it's locked behind a prison of payments. There we go. Okay, more. Let's see. Pay to win, but technically free to play. But yeah, if you go through the negative reviews, a lot of them, at the very least, mention paying to win. Yeah, I mean, this one talks about it. A bit too long, though. This one is like a fucking essay on the pay to win alone. At this moment, I cannot recommend to play this game to anyone. The game is ran like it's still a mini clip or an app store game on your phone. They're constantly trying to get money out of you in any way they can, and this guy is someone with 1,500 hours. The more you play this game, the more you get used to how much monetization it is, but man, it's a fuckload. Imagine this in any other game, and actually it's crazy. We only get used to it because it's been so long. Yeah, see, going downhill after a month, developers going down the Gamigo route. Get as much monetization. Look, they're all mentioning monetization. What about this one? Here we go, except this is not the gameplay loop after all. I am not going to complain about the obvious things I tend to dislike. The cash shop at spawn, loot boxes, etc, blah. So yeah, I do agree that this game is much more free to play friendly, and it's much more beginner friendly, but it definitely, the pay to win is really bad. You can start playing the game and you can buy an almost top tier set. You can literally buy tier 13 items, which are pretty fucking good, though you'd be trolling to buy them because they're $10 each, and you can buy ST sets. Usually under deals, check campaign. Oh yeah, don't get me started on the campaign. Apparently there's a new campaign in the game. Someone said this costs $500 to finish. Keep in mind, all the pay to win in this game is optional, but like, just like any game, if you're a competitive player, because you can be a competitive player in a non-PvP game, it's just so hard to compete, you know? But yeah, if you want these exclusive ST sets, you have to pay 500 USD, I think. But yeah, I do think, I mean, actually, you know what? I actually think, nah, you know what? Okay, this is a fucking hot take. Deca Games actually made this game more pay to win. It's more free to play friendly. I will agree with you there, but it's actually more pay to win. On stream, we made this graph before, like putting a point value behind all of the pay to win things that all the different developers added. And this is old. There's so many new things that have been added that aren't even in here. Like now you can buy fucking forge materials. But yeah, we put a point value behind everything. This is so subjective. But look, we got Wild Shadow at 23, notoriously adding keys and vault and character slots. We got Kabam, obviously adding the pets, which is the worst thing. Wait, didn't Wild Shadow add loot potions? I'm pretty sure they did. There might be some inaccuracies, but there's no inaccuracy about Deca adding the most pay to win shit by far. But yeah, that was number one. Next one. It's too easy to get 8-8. Back on my day, I used to trade 8 death for 1 life. Now the game feels like you're in single player. Agreed. It is way too easy to get 8-8. One of the main reasons why I don't do HPs anymore is because one of the core goals of HPs and one of the most satisfying goals to reach was to 8-8 a character, but they killed it. Not only is it much easier to get pots, which was enough, I think, but they also decreased the pots to max by like half on average of all stats. And they only did this because people complain about exalts. They made exalts feel like a fundamental part style of the game, which it kind of is. But yeah, people just want to skip to the exalts. I would have much preferred if they made it that they kept the same amount of stats to max, but instead they made it that 0.8 can exalt. I think that would have been the way better option. What do you guys think? Than increasing stats to max. Decreasing stats to max. You don't even need the maxing apple anymore because it's that easy to max. Hey guys, offline Choof here, and I've got a bonus hot take for you. It's one of my hot takes, and I'm surprised it's not more widely accepted. I do hear some people think this, but more people need to, and that is playing Realm of the Mad God on testing for reasons other than testing is super damaging to the competitive integrity of this game and to content creation, especially for challenge runs and especially for speed runs. I'll explain why. Here's another controversial take, but more of the better players in the game can probably agree that Realm of the Mad God's dodging and difficulty is actually not that hard compared to other games that are similar, like Binding of Isaac, Tohu, stuff like that. The main reason why Realm of the Mad God might be hard is the permadeath that's really holding everyone back. It's why everyone doesn't have perfect gear and why people aren't rapidly improving at the game, because after you die you gotta gear back up and then try a dungeon again. But now imagine getting rid of the thing that makes Realm much more difficult completely. The main problem of testing is you just get too much free shit. Like, one of the things that makes games amazingly fun is the adversity in them. So imagine if you practice a dungeon in testing, you become really good at it, and then you just go to prod where you can clear it easy. Or for example, if you haven't cleared a dungeon for the first time, a hard one, and you clear it on testing, you're basically robbing yourself of the satisfaction. It probably is still satisfying on testing, but it really depends on how much pain it gives you beforehand. And in testing, since you can spawn in items and much more, you can essentially just throw yourself at the wall until you complete it. I see many people in the game complain that the game is too easy and boring, yet they use testing to practice or do challenge runs. Now, for challenge runs and speed runs, testing is even more insane because it's actually more unfair than using cheats, in my opinion. That's a pretty crazy statement, but hear me out. One of the most difficult thing about doing challenge runs and speed runs is getting the items in the first place. Not because it's actually difficult, it's just quite a grind to get some of the items. Like getting a divine item in this game, I forgot what the rarity is, but it's damn rare, trust me. I think it's like a 1 in 100, I don't know, I forgot the math, but yeah, not only is the item itself sometimes rare to get, but getting the enchantments is even harder, like the slots, and then getting each perfect enchantment in each slot is beyond insane. So as you can imagine, if you achieve a really nice set, you won't get a perfect one, but imagine if you do get one, and then you die during a challenge or a speedrun, it would be super painful, setting you back massively. And it's always really good players doing these speed and challenge runs, but even a 1 pixel misstep sometimes can lead you to instantly die, or can happen to a bug and you don't even get revived. So people might find it okay to use something like cheats like Auto Nexus or testing to circumvent this. But again, this game is so easy if you get rid of that permadeath, even when doing challenge runs and speed runs. So someone can benefit massively from using Auto Nexus to do these runs without the risk of dying or losing their stuff, only being limited by the amount of keys they have. But the main problem with cheating is that you still have to get those insane items with the insane enchants in the first place. Any cheats crazier than Auto Nexus would be too obvious from the recorder's perspective anyway. But even more overpowered than cheating is using testing to do challenge runs or speed runs. And you might be like, how the hell is that even possible? But the benefit of using testing over cheating is that you can skip that initial process of having to get that god tier set of items that you were scared of losing. This is because on testing, you can get free items from the shops along with chests, and there's actually items in the game, on testing at least, that allow you to get infinite of the dusts that you can use to re-roll enchants. Though most people are only limited to having access to testing like 1 weekend every 3 weeks on average, something like that. But closed testers, not only do they get access all year round to these servers, but they actually get to use even more crazy commands like becoming invincible, getting admin weapons to skip parts of a dungeon faster that you couldn't do in prod, and maybe more that I don't know about because I'm not a closed tester. But it's actually the closed testers that have historically abused testing to achieve challenge runs in the past. This has been pretty rare before and frowned upon among the speedrunning community, but for some reason it's becoming more frequent and normal and more accepted by the player base. But another reason why abusing testing is really OP is that it gives you invaluable experience. So as I was mentioning before at the very beginning, we were talking about how you can rob yourself of a complete by doing it on testing, by slamming yourself against the wall with brand new 8/8s that you can continuously respawn basically. It just gives you such a rapid rate of improvement that it makes it so much easier to learn bosses. Like imagine in Binding of Isaac, if you could easily practice the endgame bosses, that would make them far easier if you come across them. I've always found it much more enjoyable to just learn from my experiences and playing normally. So when I do lose a big character, I'll just look back at the footage and learn a lot from that. But yeah, let me get into some examples of how testing challenge runs have made a negative effect on the community. One of the first big examples I can think of is when the first solo void was completed. it wasn't done on prod, it was actually done on testing. And that basically robbed the community of such a big milestone. Personally, if it was done on prod, it would have been so amazing. I would have been so hyped. But any challenge runs and speed runs done on testing, I really don't give much credit to. But among the player base in general, they actually got treated almost the same as if it was done on prod, even when clearly mentioning it in the title, in the description, and sometimes people do it in the video as well. And because of that, I can't imagine why people with closed testing access would willingly do it in prod if they're treated the exact same. But yeah, this is a challenge run that Linky was chasing for quite a while, and I was really hyped for him to get the Solar Void. And even though he did get the Solar Void afterwards, I can't imagine how demotivating it must have been before and after, since technically the first Solar Void was done on testing. It's probably why I didn't see as many challenge runs from him afterwards. Now, testing doesn't matter as much for runs like the Gear Limited, Lost Halls, and Void Solo I did, although having infinite access to vials, 8/8s, and keys would be amazing, because that does hold me back quite a lot. Although it can't be understated how annoying it is to get some keys, like the ones you can't buy or get popped for you by paying others. Like for example, vials for voids, runes for O3, and the True Umi book for Moonlight Village. I have no doubt Linky would have got the first Solar Void if he only had infinite access to voids, because there's no doubt that the person that did do the first Solar Void, which was on testing, not only didn't have to worry about farming the vials, but they were probably popping the void portal outright, since admins can do that, which not only is amazing because it's all the time saved acquiring vials, but it means you don't have to spend the 20 or so minutes actually getting to the void first, which not only is a lot of time, but it does fatigue you a lot, having to go through that dungeon before the void each time. A much crazier example of this is the potentially hardest item to acquire in the entire game, and that's the True Umi book, because it can take hundreds of Moonlight villages to get. Now, there's actually a closed tester that died with this in prod, but afterwards he started using closed testing with the True Umi book to do some crazy challenge runs, and they were really impressive, but just not as much because they were on testing. Now, as you can imagine, having this access to spawning the hardest item in the game and dying with it infinite times is an insane advantage over normal players. There was actually many players in prod that tried to spoof the support team by pretending they had this item and they disconnected with it, or they dropped it by accident, and they got permabanned for that, for one book. That is how OP being a tester is. So yeah, again, Lucas is a god, but some other advantages he might have been able to use is typing /invulnerable through the first bosses so he could just AFK, so he can skip to Umi, because the first bosses would be another instance of time wastage and also skill drain. Another example of an achievement being robbed is when a group of closed testers did the first ever clear of O3. Now, you guys might think I'm being salty, but my guild was so close to actually getting the first clear of O3. It's only because we got Basil that slowed us down, and they got Lucorix. But even if they got the second fastest clear, it would have been pretty gross. By the way, Basil back in the day was a HP scaled invulnerability spamming mess, and it was the first one that could be ever accessed in the game, even in open testing. But yeah, it just feels weird having a group of people that literally tested the dungeon for months before release compete against others for the first clear. Also, I remember when I was doing Lost Halls speedruns with my guild and consistently getting the world record over cheating discords majority of the time, but it was hard to keep up and stay motivated, because not only were they cheating, but since they were a discord, they had easier access to players at a time when the HP scaling really benefited you just padding the runs with heaps of people. Also, there were rare consumables that we had to keep restocking, like Deca fusions and Lost Halls keys, which were much easier to get in a discord. But it's crazy to think that we would have had an even harder time against a group of closed testers playing on the testing servers. Mind you, cheats weren't as crazy then as they are now. Thanks Deca Games for that one. But yeah, again, I have to mention, everyone I've shown on screen or that I've mentioned are beyond legendary in how good they are. Though I actually wouldn't put any of them in the top 10 players of all time, just because of their insane advantages. Even if those people that did abuse testing played on prod now, because of the invaluable experience they gained from playing with like infinite items in sandbox mode, basically, they've gained insane skills. So they might actually be in the top 10 now, but out of principle, I wouldn't put them in my top 10 ranking. It would be interesting to consider how much worse some of these players might be if they didn't have access to the sandbox mode. But yeah, for me, when I see a challenge run on testing, I personally find it meaningless. For the longest time, it was actually frowned upon to use testing for challenge runs and even practice by older legendary challenge runners like BTL, Kraykiller, and Linky. But yeah, it's just so common and accepted now. I can't imagine how discouraging it is for people doing challenge runs and speedruns nowadays. I mean, there's barely any anymore, and who can blame them? I'm curious to see how good these these legacy beast players would be if they had the same access to this sandbox mode. Like, imagine if Japan or BTO had access to testing, or for example Trey, who lost his world record to a closed tester. If he was even on a remotely even playing field, I think he would easily keep the world record shatters forever. Maybe I'm crazy and over exaggerating. I mean, I feel like I might be because this opinion is so rare, but I've outlined all of the reasons and there's quite a lot to it, right? What do you guys think? By the way, I should say that I have abused testing in the past, but it wasn't for the sake of abusing testing and learning the game. Unfortunately, sometimes to access content earlier, the only way to do it is on public testing. I did this for O3 and Shadows and Moonlight Village for one day. I did first try Umi Blind, by the way, cough cough. But yeah, honestly, that gave me a rapid burst of experience that gave me a massive advantage over other players. I'd much rather if the public access to dungeons were only possible through prod from the day it's released. But yeah, man, I gotta get that content. And I definitely want to talk about testing in future videos. Back to live stream truth. Next, RotMG is a hard game to create YouTube content for. Agreed, you need a really big brain and high IQ. It's a game that is more fun to play than watch. Agreed. Which is why the amount of Realm YouTubers are so tiny. Shout out for keeping the YouTube scene thriving and to everyone who attempts to. Unfortunately, like, playing the game is really fun, but it's so monotonous. Like, a lot of people like doing a monotonous task, but people don't like watching it, you know? And yeah, playing it is definitely a lot more fun. That's why you don't see many people on YouTube or Twitch like break out past like the 40 viewer range. It's really fun to play alongside streamers, and that's why they get that 40 to begin with, but no one's watching someone farm the same boss for hundreds of hours. That's why I try my best to create like exciting shit. I basically try to make Realm seem like other fun games to watch. I like making mines in Minecraft, but I don't think anyone would watch me do that in YouTube. Yeah, exactly. Like, mining in Minecraft is a good example. Collecting resources in a survival game is a good example. It's really fun to do yourself, usually really satisfying, but no one wants to watch that. There's only been a handful of YouTubers that have been able to find success. So yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about this other than to tell creators that if they want to have more people watching them, only if they do, they might have fun playing the game how they like. But if you want to get more viewers on YouTube or Twitch, you got to do really interesting out of the box shit. Okay, next, we need a huge YouTuber to promote the game so all the old players can do a big comeback. A lot of people will talk smack to Deca for not doing marketing for Realm. That's broadly what this is about. But you don't understand how many people are waiting for Realm of the Mad God to just be a decent game without server issues, without an insane amount of cheaters, without the massive problems that it has. If they only fix those things, a lot of people watching and waiting for the game to be improved will come back. So they don't have to market the game because there's a huge player base waiting for the game to simply be fixed. So I disagree with Realm needing to market the game until they properly fix it. There's a lot of people in the stream that don't play Realm in the moment waiting for it to be better. On God, a fixed good game would advertise itself among the community fairly quickly. Yeah, definitely. If you think about a lot of the viral games that are just really good, like Hollow Knight and like what else? Schedule 1, they don't market the game, man. You just have to make the game good. I mean, a lot of really good games fly under the radar, unfortunately, but Realm isn't under the radar. Like, a lot of people know about it and a lot of people are waiting. Okay, next, make the beginning and middle sections of the game bigger and more explorable, like in the old Realm. Okay, this is a very explosive take. I agree with the first part. There's only 5 beginner dungeons, I think. I think the game needs more beginner dungeons. If they added more beginner dungeons, they probably wouldn't have made this game insanely easy. I don't know, the middle just doesn't feel fleshed out. People always complain there's no good bridge between mid and end game or early and end game. But you don't want to make anything like the old Realm. The old Realm was trash. As nostalgic for Realm I am, I can't think of one good thing that the old Realm had, to be honest. The only thing that I can think of is that it had more clear visuals, while the new Realm is a bit too busy in its sprite work. But yeah. Okay, next. The state of the game is the best that it's ever been, and it's almost getting better. Very hot take. This is very subjective, but because of the servers and the monetization and the cheating alone, I definitely wouldn't call now the best state. I wouldn't call it the worst state. Honestly, when Moonlight Village came out, I remember it being so good that I actually recommended people to play it because the servers were good, the cheating situation wasn't that bad, and monetization was not as bad as it is now, but still bad. If you're talking about purely the content, it is getting better and better because they're adding more and they're fixing the content. But unfortunately, because of server instability and cheating, it goes up and down how good the state of the game is. Like, at the moment, it's been quite rare that I would actually recommend this game to random people. I'd say 30% of Exalt's existence, I would have recommended the game to random people, maybe 20%, but I wouldn't say that it's in a recommendable state just yet because the servers are a bit iffy and cheating is still a thing, and man, people can still say the N-word and stuff in the chat and have it in their usernames. It's actually crazy. Okay, I'm losing my voice a bit. Let me drink some more tea. Alright, next. Might be considered a big hot take. I don't dislike Deca at all. I don't think they are greedy. They are charging on a free-to-play game to keep it alive. That could be true. I think without them, the game would have been buried by Kabam years ago. Deca listens to community more than we give them credit for, and I appreciate them for it. Honestly, I sympathize with this comment a lot because I actually do agree that Deca is a big W for Realm of the Mad God. The game could be dead. They could be doing a lot more. Under almost any other dev, I think this game could be a big dead. But let's break this down piece by piece. First, I said I don't dislike Deca at all. There definitely is some things to dislike about Deca. This already is attacking the integrity a bit. Honestly, there's almost a reason to dislike every game dev. There's no perfection. So this implies that Deca's perfect, which is fucking insane. I don't think they are greedy. They are charging on a free-to-play game to keep it alive. I don't think a bit of monetization is bad either, but unfortunately, it is fucking insane how much there is. I think that without them, the game would have been buried by Kabam years ago. That part I agree with. And Deca listens to community more than we give them credit for, and I appreciate them for it. And I agree with that as well. But they also don't. They do, but they don't. It's really hard to get through to Deca sometimes because they're extremely corporate. They do still accept feedback, which is really awesome. Next, Toxic Sewers is way harder than it has the right to be. Nice and basic. I think a lot of people hold this take, actually. This is a pretty common take, but I think it's fine. Just stay out of the water, don't sit in the enemies, and you're G. I actually think the difficulty is mostly from the sewer water, probably, but I think that is such an interesting part of the dungeon. I mean, I died to it a lot because I rushed, but no one needs to rush. I actually really like the waterfall, the currents, and the water in general. There's so many dungeons, like Puppet Theater, and Puppet Theater is literally nothing going for it within the rooms, but Undead Lair, Abyss of Demons, they don't have much going for them within the rooms. But Sewers is actually my favorite Godlands dungeon. The rooms are so interesting. I think they did a really good job with, it's just so varied. And yeah, it does teach Sicken early on, which is nice. So yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. Next! Oh, here we go. A very unpopular take, but I think the seasonal mode essentially eclipses any reason to play non-seasonal. Is a good thing for the game. Having access to a vault of thousands of endgame items and the ability to forge whatever you want could possibly had long since fully killed off the pain of you dying for good players. Okay, I think this is just badly worded, but I'm getting it. I'll explain it after. With a seasonal, the way it is structured, now I generally feel that sense of risk and especially the sense of loss whenever a stacked seasonal character dies, instead of just shrugging and instantly restocking a new character from my overflowing vault of 03 Shatters event whites. It also brings noobs and veterans alike onto a level playing field, at least for the first couple of days of a season. Granted, that doesn't hinder the real sweats that just have non-seasonal friends carry them in Shatters to get HM crowns or grinding MVs, Yumis, until they're fully best in slot anyway. I definitely agree with this. The wording was a bit saucy, but they're basically saying that seasonal mode is needed to keep power creep at bay. And it's definitely true because with the new enchantment system, man, it is so easy to create an insane character. Even really good players will be able to get an insane seasonal character, but like I can just imagine if there was no seasonal mode, everyone would be stacked to the gills with fucking crazy characters. It's so easy to create beyond busted characters. And now whenever a new season starts, it's a lot of fun because people start from the very beginning. It gives you a bit of a hint to what a PPE mode would be like if they finally added it to the game. Unfortunately, seasonal mode kind of becomes non-seasonal mode in a way later into the season because you do start to get a stacked vault, you know what I mean? PPE mode would actually make it that it's the start of the season permanently, you know? I do think seasonal mode is very needed for the game, even how much I am not the most of a fan of it. Okay, next one. I think that we should be able to trade UTs however we please. I like how there are some tradable UTs now, but as someone who likes to play only select characters, some of the unique drops just aren't valuable, interesting to me. I would love to be able to trade items that are the same value or see an open market system that we have seen in so many similar games like RuneScape. Maybe I'm misinformed, but an actual trade server would be nice if they decide to bring back trading. I used to be trying to trade from a Basilisk Griff scam to a Pixie Sword, and I feel like you can no longer find that unique experience in the game anymore. As much as I understand part of the reason is due to item duplication and real-world trading, I would love to have trading to be a more active part of the game. I think it's a cool aspect as you are allowed to see what's valuable. TLDR, add better UT trading into the game. I think I agree with at least more UT trading. I don't know how things like Wander the Fallen aren't tradable yet, like one tier above what's currently tradable, because right now it's just Doombows and Demon Blades that are tradable, like the 15 silver and 30 gold tradables. But I think the 30 silver and 30 gold and 40 silver UTs at least should be tradable. I think that would be cool. And yeah, trading server would be probably a good idea. And obviously Grand Exchange would be awesome. It's a shame because seasonal mode kind of killed trading, since a lot of people still play non-seasonal, but a lot play on seasonal now. So it kind of splintered the player base when it came to trading. So yeah, trading is is pretty dead. It just made it so complicated. A lot of people use the RotMG trading server. A lot of people use this, but now you can't really do it because it's just cut in two thanks to seasonal. Like, how do you even use this? If you want to buy a seasonal tier 11 bow, how do you do it? I used to use this website so much, and a lot of people did, but I don't think this take was that hot take. There's a lot of people that would rather there be less tradable items in the game thanks to duping and stuff, but I don't think anyone's duping one of the Fallens, to be honest. There's a seasonal tab when you're selecting trading at the top. Oh, let's see how busy it is. I'm curious. Seasonal tab. Oh, current seasonal offers. Fuck. It's so dead. Yeah, that's sad. That's sad. That is very sad. This used to be so active, man. It's crazy that a lot of people are still selling on non-seasonal, though. All right, next. Old Realm with Godlands in the center was better. Okay, some dungeons were a lot less frequent, but I still preferred it. We talked about this earlier a bit. Give me some reason. I couldn't think of one reason why the Old Realm was better, except for the sprite work of the new Realm could be a bit too cluttery. That's the only thing I can think of. The Old Realm was so boring, man. 80% of the Old Realm was like the green land, which was all new player focus. And yeah, Old Godlands was a lot less interesting than the new biome system. And man, if you wanted to get dungeon drops in the Old Realm, have fun. It was so hard to find the rarer dungeons, and now it's actually really possible. You can find taverns, you can find exaltation dungeons. But I remember when there was only one mob in a brand new realm. It was called a lucky Jinn or a lucky Leviathan, and it would drop a no, was it lucky Jinn and lucky Leviathan? I think it was. It would drop a crawling depths in the wood labs. That was what it was for the majority of the Old Realm. So yeah, getting dungeons was so much harder. I don't know if anyone was getting value out of the lowlands and beach and stuff, and the midlands and the highlands in the Old Realm, really. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Old Realms were better for nostalgia, but I don't think nostalgia holds any value, because unfortunately nostalgia only holds value to those that played the game before, but it can actually damage the game. Some people, because of nostalgia, will prefer worse things. I feel like it's safe to say Old Realms were objectively worse. Hence why he couldn't give us one reason. Next, RotMG is a good game. Not many people say this. It's quite controversial. And you know what? I think the content of Realm is fucking amazing. That's why I'm able to make such amazing videos and streams, making the randomizer and HPUs and stuff. But when it comes to playing the game normally, there are a lot of issues that hold the game back, that prevent me from recommending it. Like the ones we've already mentioned, the monetization, the cheating, and the disconnects. Watching Seb play it is awesome. Actually playing it is, I don't know. It's because I make it look like a different game. I make it look like what Realm should be, basically. I think Realm is a good game. It's just, it's hard to avoid the major issues it has. Major issues. Thanks so much for watching. More episodes about cheating, monetization, Deca games, and much more coming to a cinema near you soon, so make sure to subscribe. Also, don't forget to comment your spicy takes for the chance to be featured in a future video, and just what you think about the video. And like, while you're down there, you may as well shout out to my main supporters on Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube, keeping the channel alive, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.